Welcome to Being Confident from Within with Natalie Potts, the podcast that shares what it really takes to be confident. I'm passionate about helping people grow businesses with confidence. Does it seem like everyone around you is naturally confident and sure of themselves? Well, the chances are they have self-doubts just like you. I'm in conversations with inspiring individuals to share what confidence means to them and to help you find ways to believe in yourself and create confidence at any time. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk just for a short little burst, I'd say, of time together, just around confidence and specifically more about with you. So share with us a little bit about you and what you do.
So my name's Vicky. I have a startup called Earth Changers, which promotes positive impact tourism. So tourism which doesn't just minimize negative impacts, but maximizes positive contributions and benefits to communities and conservation. And so I've worked in travel myself, 27 years. I've worked in sustainable tourism about 17 years. And I started my own business in 2017.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And that sounds really interesting. So we'll definitely make sure that we leave it for people to know how to connect with you. So let's go straight into it then. What does confidence mean to you, Vicky?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because I did look up the definition, I have to admit. Because when you actually try to define it, you're like, oh, what is it exactly? I think there's a really big difference between confidence or self-confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah.
And I think confidence is what other people see of you. And I think self-esteem is what you feel yourself. And I think, therefore, confidence is more about almost, and it's defined often as faith or belief or these sorts of things. But I think it's beyond that. I think it's more about assertiveness, because that's what other people see. And that faith and belief is more internal, I think. So, I was actually chronically shy as a child, chronically. And I'm certainly not now. I'm quite the opposite, probably. And it was interesting, made me reflect what changed, why, and how.
Yeah.
And I think, a big change for me is I was born and brought up in North London. And then I moved to Yorkshire when I was 9 with my family and my dad's job. And when I got to Yorkshire, it turned out that some of the academic things we did there, for example, learning French, actually started at a later age than they did when I'd been at school in the South. And I think I had a confidence then for the first time that I knew how to do this, because I'd done that bit already. I'd done that learning. And I think that changed my confidence, and I stopped being that chronically shy kid. I think as a child, and it's certainly not helped by, I grew up in a very dysfunctional, volatile family. And when you're surrounded by volatility and shifting sands and, the unexpected, it's not surprising if you feel insecure in that. And I think that can really damage confidence, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't feel confidence is about feeling secure. And I didn't feel secure probably. And it took me to have that house move up to Yorkshire, changing sort of academics almost. And, Yorkshire would then later catch up with London academically levels. But that little bit of time where I thought I can do this beyond what my peers were then, what they knew then, I think that changed confidence for me massively.
Yeah, that's it. And it's an interesting reflection how, again, you take it back to that childhood and being shy, and very much is the beliefs and what we come through then. And I know that a big thing for me is shifting. I was a very shy kid as well, and it was someone having that belief in me around drama, and I love drama. And because they'd seen it in me, I was like, oh, and then it just everything changed after that, really crazy. And I kind of look back, it makes me nervous to think if I didn't have that experience, I probably wouldn't be how I am now. No,
and mine was definitely sort of academic stuff at school, popularity at school, and then that becomes a sort of positive reinforcement when you get good grades. That then boosts your confidence. Sport was a big helper for me because I always loved my netball, for example, and therefore connected with people. And you sort of, your popularity of friendships come through that. And also, again, that reaffirmation that you're good at something, And then for me, personally, travel made an enormous impact on my confidence.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I always wanted to travel. My first ambition was to go everywhere in the world called Victoria. after my name. I thought that sounded great fun.
Very good.
And apart from going to the moon, which I've later, reshaped that one because I think I'd be very sick on one of those gyroscopes. But yeah, and then once I was able to travel independently, which I first did straight after uni, really, I think then that experience, and I think, confidence comes from practice and from experience and from mastery.
Absolutely.
And I think, I'm someone, because of a very volatile, dysfunction upbringing, I can think on my feet. I'm quite streetwise. I can cope with changing environments quite quickly.
Yeah.
And so travel suits me because you never know what the heck's going to happen, right? And you can deal with all that kind of stuff. And then the more I traveled personally, and then I worked in it as well. So I worked as a resort manager originally in ski destinations. And so you are dealing with all manner of problems all the time. You can imagine whether it's breakages of bones or drunken customers and getting them out of police cells and all this kind of stuff. And so you're pushed constantly beyond your limits. And I think you just have to get on with it. You don't have much choice. And I think the experience of that then again grows that confidence that you are able to handle anything. And I think once in your head you think, I can handle it, I've done this before, or okay, it's a different situation, but I've had other difficult situations before. And I think that really helped me when I eventually came to set up my own business, because having worked in tourism for many, many years and got frustrated with, companies not doing things the way I wish to see them go in terms of sustainability, is I had a few qualms about setting up myself. Initially, I thought I wanted to look for a partner, and then basically time went past and I wasn't finding the right co-founder, and got to the point where I just said, you know what, I've just got to do it by myself. Yeah. And I think I was confident to do that, because I prepped for it financially. I was very, very organized, going back decade plus in the experience I needed, the contacts I needed, the amount I had to pay off my mortgage and all that kind of stuff. So there's a prep element, and then there's an experience element that, you know what, I've been in worse situations, I'll be able to handle this, this will be fine, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that belief that you can just handle whatever life throws, really.
I guess moving on from that, what areas in your life do you want to build more confidence?
Tech.
Okay.
I mean that's more a knowledge thing, to be honest, and it's not that I'm not untechy. I was involved in tech world for a long time, but certainly as a business manager, certainly thinking about how I need to technically develop, and certainly with new technologies out like AI and things like that I don't know much about. So that's a whole area that I need to learn more. I'm learning massively at the moment. I'm out looking for sort of funding support and things like that. So I'm learning a whole new world there right now. And what I tend to do is probably immerse myself for quite a long time in something before I venture into it, if you like. So I've sat on webinars, for example, for the last year or two about funding, so that I understand all the vernacular that's used and just really the issues around it. And I'm getting a grip of where do I feel comfortable, where I'm at and what I'm looking for, and really kind of, I suppose, trying to fine tune that. And then what else? Confidence. Oh, relationships. I mean, seriously. Yeah, that would be good. That's all.
Minefield.
Yeah. I mean, start your own business. It's not gonna, that brings confidence, hopefully, because you do, you bring other people into things, then they've got their whole thing going on.
Yeah.
So that, I think those are the things that challenge us, because they make us feel potentially at times insecure or unworthy or whatever it is. They wobble that self-esteem, don't they?
Yeah. Who do you know who has the type of confidence you would like?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I'm a bit over enthusiastic sometimes. I think I'd like to be sort of calmer with confidence, a real self-assuredness. Because I think I still have, in me, I still have that little kid that was A, chronically shy, and B, from a dysfunctional, volatile upbringing, that possibly comes across to other people sometimes, that you are trying to, you're trying to keep your security, you know.
Yeah, that's really interesting how you.
So I meet people sometimes who've had that very secure background and upbringing, and I just think, yeah, I don't have that in the same way, you know.
Yeah. That's
So
really...
no one particular person, but yeah, it just embodies in different people sometimes that you meet. They're just very secure in themselves.
Yeah, and you've kind of answered the next one around qualities that people have.
Yeah.
Just to build on slightly different on from that, but it's interesting sometimes in terms of how it brings out confidence and self-esteem in us. But who has been your best mentor and why?
Gosh, again, not one person. Probably there's certain bosses, I think. You know, I had an amazing boss when I worked in the French Alps who said, I'm your friend as long as you're doing your job, and the minute you're not doing your job, I'm your boss.
Right.
And he stuck by that. I mean,
yeah,
I quite like tough bosses, I think, but I also like bosses that let me be autonomous.
Yeah.
I'm someone who has to, I learn by doing, I learn by experiencing. So I don't want someone, you know, telling me, micromanaging me.
Yeah.
I need to just go off and do it. So people that allow me to do that and grow in my own empowerment and confidence, I think is important. So then I had a great boss. I worked in, was actually part of the team that took teletext, if you remember teletext from EV.
I mean, no, I'm far too young.
No, exactly, you're too young. I was part of the team that took that from analog TV to digital for the first time in the early 2000s. And I had a great boss there as well, you know, just, again, he's someone that was, both of these, they were both called David, interestingly. I think there's something in the name David. My stepfather is also called David, and they all share a common characteristic of being very steady, firm, but fair.
Yeah.
And I think I quite like that. And who else? Yeah, I mean, my stepdad's been a big influence in my life. Let's mention him, that's fair, because he's the opposite of that dysfunctional, volatile upbringing, you know. He's solid and he's Yorkshire and no messing. And yeah, who else? I mean, I'd love to have some women in there. Who's been a great female mentor? I've got quite a lot, to be fair. I mean, particularly around sustainable and responsible tourism, you know, it's often females that have led the way in that. Visionaries for me. Yeah, the confidence, I think that's an interesting thing when you do start your own business. And confidence is played out in different ways and angles within your business. So
yeah,
it might be me talking on a podcast, confidence. Very happy with that. You know, I did, interesting, I used to do public speaking at school. I used to have to do it because I was head girl and I didn't want to do it, hated it. When I was working in resorts, I used to have to do welcome meetings, obviously, every week with guests. I'd have, well, my first year was 100 guests a week. My fourth year by then was like 300-400 guests a week. I never got used to that and I never liked it. But now, talking about my own business, more than happy to hundreds, to thousands even online, whatever it is, you know. So I think it's different, you know, what you talk about as well. And that's because I'm very happy in my, you know, I know the knowledge of my business, right? I'm the best person and the expert to talk about it. Yeah. So it's easy. And then, you know, there's different confidence in going to events and networking, you know, blindly when you don't know anyone. And I'm kind of good on most of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's like I mentioned, the new areas where I'm less confident, which is sort of going into funding discussions or sort of tech discussions. I've got to have that sort of thing. That didn't answer the question, probably. I forgot.
No, it did. It's good. It's interesting, like you share. It's often never one person. There is often, you've related it again to this idea of knowledge is coming through very strong, and I know that will continue to. And I always say that for me, confidence is around knowledge, experience, and also there's that, like I shared at the start, that underpinning of people believing in you, and that's what that mentor question does, is that it's that part where, you know, that people have got your back, they see the potential in you, and sometimes when you don't have that yourself can help to build confidence. And
you know, we've met through coaching, and the biggest influence, to be fair, probably on that has been Ryan Pinnock, who runs the Super Genius program. And I joined his coaching back in 2015. And he instilled in me a self-empowerment of confidence, a self-esteem that I think I never previously had.
Really,
and it's not that he sort of intentionally did it one-on-one with me. It was just, you know, we're part of group coaching. But what he taught me to do was to confirm my vision in writing and to say, yeah, put it down and go for it. And I probably had never had that before in my life.
Yeah.
And I literally did a sort of meditative exercise where I free wrote, you know, what I wanted my life to be. And almost by just doing that, it sort of materialized. I mean, literally within 6 months, at that point in time, I thought I was in a job which I thought was my favorite job in the world. Within 6 months, I was out, you know, and then it was like, oh, but I'd written in that free writing, you know, the whole plan for my business pretty much. So it was all sitting there subconsciously. It just hadn't had an avenue to almost, when someone sort of gives you the permission to say, yeah, you can go and do that.
I love that. What an amazing note to end on that. I absolutely love that part. Where can people find out more about you and connect?
They can on Facebook, which is earthchangers.travel on Facebook, sorry. Instagram is at earthchangers, just all in one word. And Twitter is at earth_changes_. Or find me on LinkedIn, Vicky Smith, bit challenging, lots of us there. But yeah, Vicky Smith, Sustainable Tourism, you'll find me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. It was amazing.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for listening to Being Confident from Within. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it inspired you in trusting no matter what happens in any particular situation, you'll be able to handle it and learn from the outcome. I really love hearing from you, so please leave a review and let me know which part of the episode resonated with you the most. Have an amazing day.